A woman I know, a corporate attorney in Washington, D.C., the kind of woman who has negotiated contracts in rooms most people will never enter, told me something after a client dinner last year that I have not stopped thinking about. She said, "Isabelle, we lost the account, and it had nothing to do with the proposal." I asked her what happened. She was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "The partner watched how our lead ate the whole dinner, and at the end of the evening, he shook hands, said goodnight, and the next morning redirected the contract to another firm." She paused. We never got an explanation, but I knew I had watched the same things he watched. I have been collecting stories like this for 15 years, not because they are cruel, because they are true, and because the women who lose rooms this way almost never know what happened or why. So I went back through my notes. Every dinner I have attended where I watched someone gain a room or lose one before the first course arrived. Every conversation with maîtres, with board members, with women who have sat at the highest tables in America and Europe. What I found were over 30 specific mistakes, over 30 signals sent without knowing that tell everyone at the table exactly which world you came from. I will share 10 of those mistakes with you today. Part 1 of this series, the one we did about a month ago, covered the bread, the phone, the napkin, the pace, the apology reflex. You can go watch it after this one if you missed it. It's the most viewed video on our channel. Today, we go deeper into the signals that are rarer, subtler, and more damaging because they happen in the moments when most women think no one is watching. Someone is always watching. Number 10, how they handle the meal when a course is not to their taste. This is one of the most quietly revealing moments at any formal dinner, and one of the least discussed. It will happen. A dish arrives that you do not enjoy. Perhaps you do not like the preparation. Perhaps an ingredient does not agree with you. The middle-class responses are predictable. Pushing the food around the plate, making a face, commenting to a neighbor, asking for a substitution mid-course at a dinner party. None of these are options at a formal table. The correct protocol, consistent across American and European formal dining, is this. You eat what you can without comment. You leave what you cannot, arranged neatly at one side of the plate. You continue the conversation as though nothing has happened. The only exception, a genuine allergy or serious medical requirement, which should have been communicated to the host before the event. Never at the table mid-course. A woman who sits on the board of a prominent New York cultural institution, she attends formal dinners 4 or 5 times a month, told me, "I once watched a woman ask for the sauce to be removed from her entree at a private dinner in someone's home. The hostess smiled and accommodated her, but she was never invited back." The table is the host's domain. You are a guest in it. The signal you send by eating graciously, even what you would not choose yourself, is one of the most powerful signals of all. I am here for the evening, not for the food. The signal, I am a guest, completely, and I know what that means. Number 9, they never introduce themselves with their title. This is primarily an American mistake, and one that is immediately visible to anyone with European social fluency. In old money American culture and throughout European upper-class social settings, you introduce yourself by your name. Only your name, not your company, not your title, not what you do. I'm Isabelle, not I'm Isabelle Vargas. I'm a consultant. I work with luxury brands across. The unsolicited title or company affiliation signals one thing clearly. You believe your position needs to be stated because your presence alone may not be sufficient. In old money and European social rooms, the assumption runs the other way entirely. Your name is sufficient. If someone wants to know what you do, they will ask. And when they do, you answer briefly, without performance. A woman in my network, she runs a family foundation in Connecticut and moves regularly between New York and London, told me that in British social circles in particular, volunteering your professional title at a social dinner is considered nearly as inappropriate as discussing money. It tells the room you are still impressed by yourself, she said, and the rooms worth being in are not impressed by that. The signal, my name is enough. It has always been enough. Before we go further, I want to tell you about something I built specifically for the undeniables. It is called the Undeniables Dining and Social Mastery Guide. 3 complete guides in one. 12 table mastery rules, not one of them about which fork to use. The social architecture of refined women, how they enter, hold attention, disagree with grace, and exit memorably. A 20-point presence checklist. A dining etiquette cheat sheet you can read before any significant dinner. And the 10 phrases that quietly eliminate you from consideration at any table, and exactly what to say instead. Everything I have observed across 15 years of rooms most women will never sit in. Distilled, organized, yours to keep. It is not a course. It is not a lecture. It is a reference document, the kind of thing that used to exist only in families where these rooms were simply where life happened. It is $27. The link is in the description. It is the first thing you will see. If this video is already showing you something you have been carrying without knowing it, that guide will take it further, considerably further. Now, back to the table. Number 8. They never discuss the price of anything at the table. This is absolute in European old money culture, and observed, though less rigidly, in American upper-class dining as well. The price of the restaurant is not discussed. The price of the wine is not discussed. What anything cost, the dress, the vacation, the renovation, is not discussed. Not because wealth is a secret, because discussing it is a signal that wealth is still remarkable to you. And in rooms where abundance is the baseline, where these women have been eating at tables like this since childhood, the price of things is simply not the point. A French woman I met through my mother's connections in Lyon, her family had run a vineyard in Burgundy for 3 generations, told me that the quickest way to identify a new guest at her family's table was whether they commented on the wine's vintage. She said, "Someone who belongs at that table does not need to name what they are holding. They simply enjoy it." The same principle applies in American corporate dining. The woman who comments on how expensive the restaurant is, or how much the tasting menu costs, or what the bottle of wine retails for, has identified herself as someone for whom these things are still significant markers. At elite tables, they are simply the environment. The signal, abundance requires no commentary from me. Number 7, the way they handle an unexpected spill. A spill will happen to everyone, eventually. And the way it is handled in the first 5 seconds tells the table everything it needs to know about the woman handling it. The middle-class reflex is loud, a gasp, an apology to the whole table, vigorous dabbing with the napkin, an extended recovery that draws attention to the moment long after it has passed. The correct response, in American formal settings and consistently throughout European dining culture, is quiet, immediate, and brief. You blot, you do not rub. You apologize once, briefly, to whoever was most directly affected. You signal the server with a glance, and then you return to the conversation as though the interruption lasted exactly as long as it needed to, which is 5 seconds. The mark of a woman who is genuinely at home in formal settings is not that disruptions never happen. It is that when they do, she does not make them the event. A close friend of mine, she has worked as a personal stylist to several prominent American executives for over a decade, told me she advises every client before a significant dinner. Whatever happens, the rule is always the same, less than the room expects. Always less. The signal, I cannot be rattled. Not here, not anywhere. Number 6, holding the wine glass by the bowl. This is not about wine knowledge. The maitre d' I mentioned earlier told me something that has stayed with me. The issue is never whether they know the wines. The issue is whether they are comfortable not knowing. A study from the University of Bordeaux on wine behavior in social dining found that drinkers who handled wine with confident simplicity, short, direct responses to sommeliers, no over-explanation, were rated significantly higher in perceived sophistication than those who demonstrated extensive knowledge but appeared anxious doing so. Ease outperforms expertise. Always hold the wine glass by the stem. When offered a taste, swirl once, smell briefly, sip. Then, "That's lovely, thank you." That is all. If you prefer not to drink, turn the glass face down before service begins, or place your hand over it when the sommelier approaches. No explanation required. The signal, I am comfortable here. I have always been comfortable here. Number 5, how they receive a compliment at the table. This is one of the most subtle signals on this list, and one of the most consistently mishandled. A compliment arrives. You look wonderful. That was a brilliant point. I've heard so much about your work. The middle class reflex, almost universal and almost always damaging, is deflection. Oh, this old thing. I'm not sure I explained it well. I really haven't done much. Research from Stanford on social perception found that reflexive self-deprecation in response to a compliment is read, unconsciously but consistently, not as humility, but as an unwillingness to be seen. And a woman who cannot be seen, at a table where the most powerful people are completely comfortable being acknowledged, is a woman the room quietly moves past. The correct response is simple, brief, warm, direct, thank you. That means a great deal. And then, and this is the part most women miss, you move the conversation forward. You do not dwell, you do not deflect, you receive it, and you continue. In French social culture, this is second nature. The French neither over-apologize for a compliment, nor perform excessive gratitude for it. They receive it as something that was offered and was deserved and has now been acknowledged. That ease is its own signal. The signal, I am comfortable being seen. I have always been comfortable being seen. Number 4, the quality of their silence. I have saved this one for last because it is the one that cannot be faked, and it is the one that once you have it, changes every room you enter. Most women are uncomfortable with silence at a table. They feel it. A comment about the food, a question pulled from nowhere, a laugh offered to no particular joke. The women I have watched command elite rooms, in New York, in Paris, in London, in Rome, have a particular relationship with silence. They are not afraid of it. When a conversation pauses, they do not reach for noise. They sit with the pause. They take a sip of water. They look around the table with what I can only describe as settled interest. And then, when they speak, it is because they have something worth saying. A woman who served as a senior diplomat in the U.S. State Department for over a decade, she was based for years in Paris and later in Rome, told me something I have come back to many times. She said, in European diplomatic circles, the woman who speaks least is almost always the one everyone wants to speak with most. Because every time she opens her mouth, the room understands that what she is about to say has been considered. And considered words in those rooms are the rarest currency there is. Silence at a formal table is not absence. In American corporate culture, and even more so in European social settings, it is presence of the highest order. Practice sitting with a pause before you fill it. Practice letting someone else's sentence land fully before you respond. The room will feel the difference, even if they cannot name what changed. The signal, I do not need to fill the air to occupy the room. My presence does that for me. Number 3, the hands visible rule, what most American women were never taught. This is one of the sharpest distinctions between American middle-class table culture and formal European dining, and it matters far more than most women realize. In formal European dining, particularly in France, Germany, and the United Kingdom, both wrists rest lightly on the table edge when you are not actively eating. Hands visible, relaxed, present. In American households, the habit is almost always the opposite. Hands disappear into the lap between bites. The origin is aristocratic. Hands on the table in European court dining historically signaled that you carried no weapon, that you were fully present, that you had nothing to conceal. The custom stayed in old money European families and in formal American dining schools. It disappeared from middle-class American homes entirely. A woman I know who grew up in a prominent Connecticut family, her mother's family had been in New England for 4 generations, told me she was corrected on this at the dinner table every single night until it was no longer something she thought about. She said, "It never occurred to me that other people didn't know this until I started watching." In American fine dining contexts, the rule is softer, but in any European setting, or any table with significant old money presence, the hands in lap habit will be noticed. The correction. Between bites, wrists rest lightly on the table edge, hands visible, posture open. The signal, I have nothing to conceal. I am entirely at ease here. Number 2, how they handle silverware. They have dropped. This is one that almost no etiquette resource covers, and one of the most revealing moments at any formal table. It will happen to everyone, eventually. A fork slips, a spoon falls, a knife slides off the plate. What happens in the next 3 seconds tells the room a great deal. The middle class reflex: reach under the table, retrieve it, attempt to use it again, or make an apologetic comment about it to the whole table. The correct protocol, observed consistently in American fine dining and across Europe, is this: leave it. You do not pick it up. You catch the eye of the server, quietly, without gesturing or calling out, and indicate with a brief glance toward the floor that a replacement is needed. The server brings a fresh piece. The conversation has not stopped. The moment has cost the table nothing. A woman I know who spent years as a private household manager for 2 prominent American families. She oversaw formal dinners of 12 to 40 guests several times a year, told me that dropped silverware is one of the standard tests she used when assessing new household staff. How the guest handles it tells you as much as how the staff handles it, she said. In France and in British formal dining, this protocol is identical. Leave it. Signal. Receive the replacement. Continue. The signal: small disruptions do not disturb me. Nothing at this table disturbs me. Number 1, the correct way to signal you are finished without saying a word. This is the silent language of the table that upper-class diners use fluently and that most people have never been taught. When you have finished eating, you do not push your plate away. You do not stack it on top of another plate. You do not announce that you are done. You place your knife and fork side by side, diagonally across the plate, at the 4 o'clock position. Fork tines up, knife blade facing inward toward the fork. This is the universal signal in American fine dining, in British formal dining, in French and Italian restaurant culture that your plate may be cleared. The resting position, for when you are pausing but not finished, is different. Fork and knife crossed on the plate, fork tines down at the 4 and 8 o'clock positions. 2 positions, 2 entirely different messages, both read instantly by any trained server, both read by anyone else at the table who knows what they are looking at. The signal. I speak the language of this room, fluently. So here is what all 10 of these habits across both parts of this series have in common. Not one of them requires money. Not one of them requires a particular country, a particular school, or a particular family. They require one thing only: the decision to pay attention to the room, to the people in it, to the signals you are sending before you have said a single word. The women who command elite tables in boardrooms in New York, in private homes in Paris, in diplomatic dinners in London, are not commanding them because they were born knowing these things. They are commanding them because at some point, someone gave them the information, and they used it. You have the information now. The question the table will answer at your next significant dinner and everyone after it is what you did with it. Once you know what the room is reading, you cannot unknow it. And the woman who cannot unknow it, who carries this intelligence into every room from this moment forward, is a woman the room begins to receive differently, permanently. Here is what I need you to do. Go back to part 1 of this series if you have not watched it. It's the most viewed video on our channel. Together, these 2 videos give you the complete picture. Then, pick 3 habits from today's list, the 3 you felt most in your own body when I described them, and practice them deliberately at your next formal or semi-formal meal. Come back and comment. Part 2, I worked on habit, habit, and habit, and here's what I noticed in the room. I read every one, and the women who complete both parts of this series and report back, the ones I call the undeniables, are the women who change. Not eventually. Within 30 days, I have watched it happen more times than I can count, and I am watching for your name in the comments. If these 2 videos have opened something in you, I need you to be here next week. Subscribe and turn on notifications. The women who show up to this channel consistently, week after week, video after video, are the ones who actually transform. I want that for you. If this is your first time here, you have just found something. This is Madre, and the women in this community call themselves the undeniables. You will understand why by the time you've been here for 1 week. Hit subscribe, not for me, for the woman you are in the process of becoming. She deserves every piece of this. Until next time, to every woman watching, you are not here by accident. You are an undeniable. Act like it. Isabelle.